Hello everyone, welcome back to the Onvermel report. So I enjoyed doing the last video of going through old mocks, so I think we'll go through some again. You know, this time going back actually a little bit older with them in a previous batch of made-ups I had. Let's see, where is it? I mean, this folder's got a whole bunch of other stuff mixed up, but we're only going to be looking at we might skim through some of the stuff lower, but we're going to be mostly looking at this top stuff here because this is the actual old stuff, you know, the stuff that, let's be honest, it was so long ago that I was living in the upstairs of the old parents' house, not the basement, because the basement's where the cool kids lived, you know. This is going back to 2000 and, oh, what is it? 2009. So let's start with the first dork, shall we? It will load. We'll get there. No, your screens are not having render issues. It's just the picture is blurry. Behold, I had orange pieces. Therefore, I tried using every orange piece my Bionicle sets had in a singular mock. I don't know what else to say. I remember liking the design of the sword, which I don't have any close-up sword, but I was using the Mario Huki blade sword, and I actually kind of like filled in parts of it, wrapped around the head. So it's like more built up and thicker than it looks in this blurriness pixelation that you can't notice very well. Yeah, standard Nika body. These are supposed to be rockets. It's orange. That's the whole purpose of this was. Nothing else really there. Nothing else. I had a back view because I thought it was cool that I used the mask as armor. I think that was really the first time I ever used the mask as any. I actually used 3 masks, I guess. All that weren't. None of them were used as. I think it might have been the first time I ended up using masks something other than a face. I mean, I know in the previous video there was a couple, at least one person did, but that technically happened after this. These are older mocks. These are going back further back in time. So, you know, a little bit older. Now this guy, I'll admit, I actually don't mind how he looks as like a character. As a mock, he's pretty basic and simple, but you know, like the white, the black with the red, and the little highlights of silver, you know, the Predac color scheme, but not using Predac's head as the head, like the mirror. I actually kind of like how this guy looks. Relatively. It also doesn't help that this picture is not super blurry. It's actually relatively in focus, so you know, that is something I always appreciate. I'm gonna have the tea Earl Grey hot, by the way. So, you know, that's nice. Technically, the body is a made-up design. In the made-up design, where I used a Baki hip piece rather than a standard Metro, where I actually had to build around it. Ah! And of course, adding, you know, like the spikes and the stuff into his shoulders. Again, you know, nothing crazy, but he looks kind of nice color scheme. Like, you know, if I wouldn't mind making an updated version of this guy, and that's, I guess, where I would say if it's a mock I like in the past, is if I want to make a new version of it. He was actually kind of cool. This guy's boring. Really, really boring. Do you wonder what my mission for this character was? Yeah, I had metallic black, pearl dark gray, whatever you want to call it. Make a character out of that. Although this is actually what's known as a Urap, and I actually have a made-up species of characters referred to Urap, which is what makes up this army, which is known as the Kurok's army, because I don't think I have a picture of his original model. We might look at that in a second, but no, that's newer. Where is it? Do we have it around here soon? I mean, this is... I guess I haven't taken any new pictures of Zakrok since I redesigned him. So not very clear pictures. Well, hi, Cinnamon Toast Can. Forgot I was watching that. Anyway, let's just quickly take a quick run by. You rapping. 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 These are all you rapping. They're species, which is basically a unique Matora body with a few extra add-ons of various different colors, and this is Zakrok in one of his many iterations. He's when I first got him, I made an army for him. This is one of them. Quick history lesson, we're through? Okay, cool. Speaking of another rapping, this guy is because I had the dark blue, Nuva shoulder armor that I wanted to make, and like the melded, legs. Funny enough, this character actually did remake, quite a few years later, where I cropped the picture with him, so where did he go? Yeah, so not technically a very, the Rapins aren't a complicated mocs. They're not meant to be. They're a mass horde. If I made them all complicated, it'd be too much work. I enjoy them more as a, paint by characters, but they're more characters than mocs. Well, I had this guy, I thought he was cool, because the blue cape. I actually really liked how, if you have the Mario Huki blade with Mario Torn blade underneath it, it all just flowed really nicely together. And that's why this guy was cool. So eventually, I even had fists back then. So eventually I wanted to remake them. So, again, these two sword pieces, very nice and simple. That piece is loose. He's just as simple as well, for maybe a couple things extra. But I did remake him. Not a crazy mock, but I did remake that guy. Just because, he was a character, that I ended up giving a name. After I broke this version, before I made the new version, I just had a sheet of different Rapins names, and because this guy wasn't built anymore, he was a dead one, he was deceased, so make a name for him. Drakaz. Forearms. Probably one of the most made-up designs I had in around, because I actually had to design some with forearms filling a body. Might have been the first time using those as leg armor. Maybe. Rockets, boosters. I remember really liking this guy when I first made him. I don't really like personally using Roxy heads on characters anymore these days, just because I see a Roxy head and I just think it's a Roxy or a Hog. It's hard for me to see something else other than the Roxy in that head, especially when this one's connected to the spine. Do I need the inspiration maybe making a forearm Keto Orange person in the army again? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't really like making forearm people. They're not. It's a difficult thing for me to accomplish, make look good. But this guy's he's nothing too crazy. That's a blurry picture. This is a better one. Now this guy was, I think, one of the earliest times of me designing someone who was I don't know if he was designed to be Makuta, or after I made him I decided he was a Makuta because he wasn't actually part of the army. He was a different person. Now he actually had some more interesting arm design. Actually, the color scheme I actually really liked, and apparently if you had the Kakama in this batch of made-ups, I generally liked them a little bit more. But I like the fact that I actually used nomada legs for limbs on the character this large was a rarity, but I liked it. I mean, he just used the standard Manui hands. I just stole straight from him because why make your own design when those work perfectly fine? I have some made of Makuta. None of them are this guy. Don't have any plans, but I did remember really liking them. Again, nice color scheme. The 3 different colors working with them. Actually doesn't look that bad. Like, I guess the revamped version of him would be pretty cool, but I don't think I would do it. But it wouldn't be bad. Yeah, although those decently posable. Although those poor, I just look at some of these sockets and go like, oh, some of those are probably cracked. Probably cracked. The boringest you're wrapping, you're all fine. Not only is it just a new Peru with add-ons, this is really new Peru. The thing I was trying to do was make him as spike as I could, so he had like these claws, new Peru claws there, spikes on his legs, Platinua, the head, I didn't have a whole lot of spiky pieces to use, so he's actually very limited, but my idea was like, oh, he'll be a really spiky. I remember even when I built him back in the day in 2009, I thought he was lame. That's coming from someone who was 14. Everything was lame when you're 14, though. But he was lame. He was like, of all this, despite I even have a picture of him, he was lame. I didn't take pictures of, I think, everything. This guy has a name now. It's Steve. I don't have a picture of the new Steve. But I did recreate someone who has the Takao's head, 3 big claws, that I retconned to be this same character. And because that guy was named Steve, this guy by by retconning being the same person. He is now also a Steve. So, nothing to say except he lives again by accident. So, make of that what you will. Yes, I went over this guy with the last video, but for those around, I did remake 3 versions of him. One in a year later in... Where are they? In here. I made that a year after making this version, because I just thought he was a cool looking character. So much so that I even went back recently, in more recent years, and built a newer version. Again, like I said in the last video, I went over that a little bit, so this is the original. You know, he's a Metro body, nothing to say, but I actually liked using the Nuva legs of the arms. I didn't do that very often, so, you know, I appreciate myself for it. And I tried giving him a bigger gun than just a squid launcher. It didn't work. It's kind of crap. Crash. Crap? Crash. Crash. Ah, yes. I had basically an extra crapper in my extra parts. And so, of course, when I had a crapper, when I wanted to make a crab. So, obviously, I made a lobster. I really wanted to make a crab using the parts, and I made a lobster. I may have just not realized there was a difference between the characters, or I just didn't think about it. You know, to say, it's fine. There's nothing to say. It's simple. It's basic. I kind of actually want to do it again. Make another like crustacean using Crapper's parts again. I think that'd be pretty fun, pretty cool. But like I said, this is the first time I had a batch of that I made ups with all my sets that also incorporated parts from stuff that didn't come from sets. Because like this was only shortly after I got my first loose stuff, so that was kind of interesting. What is this guy? He's crap. Although, this is the origin of the 4-sided Thornex launcher with that, which, the previous video I had another person use that same design, but this is when I first came up with it. I mean, being very proud of it, you know, really proud. I thought it was a genius. Maybe someday I'll actually use 4. I mean, it's not that difficult to have 4 attached, but, you know, I thought getting 4 attached around the socket here was, I thought I was a god. I thought I was the most brilliant man in the universe. I still do. But this isn't it. This isn't why. Huh. I just realized this guy makes me think America. This guy was crap. The picture's crap. 2 things to know with this guy, though. 1, I did actually have an extra of this dark blue Roxy foot from a friend of mine that he had traded, so I didn't have just the one from Krakow, because he only had 1 in the chest, but I ended up getting a second one, so I actually had a pair, which was nice. But his arm was one of the few times I decided to try to add a function in there, so you can see the gears that would spin, and I would just flip back and forth. I used to have a close-up blurred picture of it, but yeah, he's trash, but I try, you know, I was trying to do something different. I should never try to do that. It doesn't end up very well. Alright, gentlemen, mission accomplished. Mission here, use gold. Was it accomplished? Maybe. Although, I did like that effect that I used dark tan in the gold to make him feel more gold, and, I mean, this design here was just straight up right from Brutaka on his chest. Like, that's just Brutaka's chest design with those. But the arms, technically, was a unique design of using the Ordico lower arm, but actually connected to a proper upper limb. Like, with the ball there, so that was kind of innovating for me. Slightly. I don't really like using all gold on people anymore. I did it one time for one joke, Toa. But typically I just find gold looks too overwhelming. I don't really like the pearl gold nearly as much as I like the flat dark gold. Oh, he had back coverage. Had to take a picture of that. If you can only see through the pixelation. Fortunately, does anyone have their anti-pixelation goggles around? No? Okay. You know, so that's pretty much the end of the, that one batch of stuff. I think I used to have pictures of some other models that were really crappy that I deleted, so not a whole lot of evidence from that batch, but I won't look at all these you're wrapping, but I am going to take a look at these three pictures here. Because these three pictures, they're all covered in cobwebs. These are like the original characters in my expanded Bionicle universe, essentially. When I first got... the very first extra Bionicle parts I got were basically an incomplete Nika Nupru, bit of a Toei Iruni, and like a couple Borok. So... this guy here, Defron, was like an Nika Nupru that had a little bit of parts from an Iruni and like some pieces from a Hockey, which were he's got black Toei Nuva shoulders there. And he was like the first. I got him in parts in 2009. And when I first built him, I originally had him as a Gotorian because we had just gone. They were new, you know, my brother Atuma, he had an arena set up. I just built him like, yeah, he's a Gotorian. But for that Christmas though, I had gone another incomplete Nupru from my godparents, mixed with some other stuff. Gone some other loose Bionicle stuff from our parents that they picked up at the thrift store. I think I got some other loose extra copies of sets during that Christmas too. There was a lot of extra copies of sets. So then Zakroc was made in his earliest form. So this is the leader of my bad guy army, like my and arch nemesis essentially, Zakroc. And this was another version of him. And I just had them all set up with, you know, Halloween stuff. So I put a cobwebs on. I actually have a short story based around them being frozen in time while they're at the war table, essentially. And was also a way that I skirt around them not being involved with a lot of the timeline of Bionicle. So these three characters all still exist. I recently had rebuilt this green guy, broke him because he wasn't very good, didn't really care. Because Zakroc in the middle, Defron on the right, and Zurut on the left. Zurut looks a bit different. I might actually do a video looking at my Urappen just as a something to do at some point. People are curious because I have... well, no, you guys don't get a choice. I'm just going to do it either way, so suck it up. And then all these idiots. This person here... I'm gonna do a video talking about looking closer at... what was it? So I'm going to talking about this mock at some point soon. So remember this for that video. Everyone else here, you can pretty much ignore. Like, completely, utterly. But, yeah, so that was like an interesting time. That was like one of the last like real made-ups. You know, you started getting extra pieces, so you had like permanent non-set builds around. And so, you know, it's just like going through these characters and such. It's fun looking back at old creations and wanting to do them better, you know? Take a swig of that tea. I enjoy recreating old creations, and like these characters, like I said, you can't see the point of the screen, but Defron and Zurut here are pretty much basic models still, but Zakroc became a full-on like a full-on Titan size build with even a painted mask. I had actually gone through a couple iterations of the masking, which I like more. I don't really have any good pictures of him. I think I have by accident. Where does it go away? Like, I took this one with my phone just to crop, so you can't really see very well, but like I said, the characters, this is technically different than this character. You just can't tell. I had tweaked and updated him so many times. The fact that he started in 2009, still around today, that's 15 years. Almost. But Defron on the right there is my oldest Bionicle mock still built. And he's gone through so many different iterations and variations that, you know, one of these days, when I talk about the wrap, I'm going to go more in depth about that. But, yeah. With the actual, like, you know, made-up section, like the outside of those ones, like where it was just these models, definitely I would say less fond memories compared to the other one I was looking at, but like I said, you know, Trakaz and Steve exist again, and I mean technically both him and him have names because I just did it for the lore, so Oh, and then of course, oh yeah, then what's his face? Yeah, he has a name too. I just don't know what it is. It's written down somewhere. So yeah, so that was another video doing that again. I hope you guys liked it, and I'm retiring from the Knights until next time.